Welcome to Chop Shop Motors. My name is Clay, and today's video is going to be on a project that I started quite a long time ago and got it maybe, I don't know, 80% of the way, kind of got it to look like something, and then I was off on other projects. So what I'm going to do today over maybe the next couple days is take it to the next plateau, get some of the pieces put into color and bolted on and make it so we can move it to the other shop. So this project is a 1950 Harley Davidson Hummer. So that means it is the little pea shooter Harley. It's a 125cc two-stroke motorcycle, and it basically was a product of World War II. After the war, lots of companies copied this design in one form or another, and this was Harley Davidson's version. And we'll go through it and kind of show you what it is, and I'll give you a little background on what it started out like. So let's take a look. So this is what it looks like right now. It is a pretty relatively complete looking little motorcycle. This started out as a pile of parts, and really it started out as some parts that I bought for a 1960 Harley Hummer that I got for graduating 8th grade. And so that little motorcycle had a tough life, and there wasn't much left of it, and it was pretty deteriorated. So I decided I would bring the 1960 165 back to life. And when I started, I didn't realize all the different nuances there were for these little Harley Hummers as they progressed through kind of a 10-year, 15-year span of life. I thought, like lots of people assumed, that they were all the same, and they're not. So I had bought this motor as a core, the one you see on this little bike in front of us, and it is a 125, and I started accumulating pieces, and pretty quickly I realized that I had some early stuff and some late stuff. So what that meant was all the early stuff that I bought, I was going to get to buy again for if I really wanted to put this 1960 motorcycle together. And I had a whole bunch of early stuff that I didn't know what I was going to do with. So it started a project, which is probably a theme for me, is I'll just build two. So then I started hunting up pieces to build what the motor ended up being, which was a 1950, and I built a motorcycle around it. So I found a frame that was in about 5 pieces, and I bought it and welded it all back together, and it was hammered. I found a gas tank because, well, I had this gas tank which was the wrong one for the other bike. So I had a gas tank and a motor, and then I just started buying pieces. I bought wheels and a fork. A really hard part to find was the headlight, and I found a new old stock speedometer for it. And as you can see, it is more or less a motorcycle now. Fenders are hard to find, so I found some fenders and had them straightened and things like that. So now what I want to do is I want to clean it all up again, because it's been sitting in the shop and getting dirty and dusty. I want to clean it all up again. I want to pull all the sheet metal that's primered off and paint it a matte maroon, and get the rear fender and the tail light and the luggage rack on it, and get it to look like more like a complete motorcycle. So let's get started. Here's what it looks like after quick path. So you can see it looks pretty cool. Everything's been painted up to this point, even though it's been a while. The muffler is question mark because I don't know. That's an original muffler that I had either bought or received in some of the piles that I got, but it's pretty crappy, and they do, at least at one point they sold a reproduction muffler for this bike, so I may end up doing that. But for what we're doing, it's going to, I mean, it's still on the road to being a static display, although the motor is completely rebuilt. The generator armature's been rewound. It's got new rings, all new bearings and seals where they can be replaced. All the seals are replaced. I split the cases and took it down to basically nothing. And it's got really good compression. It should run fantastic. So now it's just a matter of getting some of this other stuff packed away, and who knows, you know, firstly, let's get it to look good. So some of the pieces I told you about, the headlight on these is really hard to find. So that's the headlight for it. It's such a cool piece. Has like a hood that it mounts into. This is the speedometer. Speedometer's got 0 miles on it. Needless to say, the rest of the parts have a bunch more miles than that. On this side, it does have a toolbox. I did acquire a toolbox for it, and it is a battery version. So there's a battery box, and so it's got an early horn, and my guess is that's probably not the right horn for it, but it's a horn. The other part that's kind of cool, because it's a generator, is it has a slick little ammeter that mounts next to the voltage regulator. So really cool, good stuff. And here's the progress on the headlight cover. Mount, speedometer holder, kind of a combo piece. It looks just like I was hoping, and we'll reassemble that piece now and get it back on the pipe and go to the next piece that needs to be stuffed in here. Looks pretty cool. This is the progress on the rear fender. It doesn't fit very well, which I was pretty confident it wouldn't. This rear fender is made out of 2 rear fenders. The lower brace is actually reproduction, and the upper one is a straightened, mangled original. And medallions on the rear are off of a different fender. This fender, they didn't all come with those. This fender didn't originally have them. And so we're mounting things and getting things to fit. It is always a bit of a fight, and the fitment has to be pretty accurate. So this is what it looks like at this point. It's a little crooked, and we'll have to fight it, keep fighting it to get the braces to cooperate with us and do what we need them to do. We also have this original brace has been fixed before I fixed it, so it's just a constant battle. We'll also, on top of that, we'll be fitting the luggage rack. So we'll also be fitting the luggage rack, which is a pretty nice original piece, or at least the way I bought it was pretty nice. I guess it's possible that it's been worked on by a previous owner before I got it, but that's what it's going to look like with the luggage rack on it, which it just looks so cool with that on there. So let me keep bending on this, and then we'll get it some primer. We can get it to fit, then we'll put some of them around. So let me keep that in. Here is the rear fender painted. The braces are on, everything else is pulled off, and I pre-fit it. It was pretty close. It's probably going to be a little bit of a fight when I put it on, but I think we'll be able to get it there. Color is matte, so it doesn't have huge luster to it, which for this motorcycle is perfect because it's not really a perfect specimen, and I didn't spend the time to make it perfect. It is an accumulation of parts, which is really cool, and the next person who owns it, if I end up selling it down the road, can take it to the next level officially. So there's the fender. We'll pull off some of the other pieces now, maybe today, and maybe get another part or two painted. And then later on in the week, after this sets up and dries for a few days, I'll start reassembling. Progress continues. Rear fender is on. It's got the package rack on the back of it. It's got the tail light, the little piece on the bottom, that little flare of chrome on a pretty non-chrome kind of motorcycle. But the fender's on, and it was a fight, mainly, well, probably for multiple reasons. One, the frame was pieced together from multiple pieces. It'd been pretty hacked apart, so it was, I measured it up and scored it up and welded it back together, and so it could have been off just a little bit, but it seems to be pretty square. The fender was made up of multiple fenders, so that was always a challenge because it's a big curved piece, and that was probably fine when it was brand new. The package carrier, I think it has had some work done on it, so you introduce another piece that might be less than exactly like it was when it was new, and then you try to put all those pieces together for one, and then put the sub pieces together, then you got to get it over the motorcycle. So kind of excited that it's all put together, at least to this point. Is it perfect? No, but I'm not really going for perfection as much as I am just getting it all together and having it kind of look cool. Up here, it's got the fairing for the headlight, and the headlight assembled. Looks good. Super happy with that. Has kind of a nice glow to it, and that's kind of how the pieces are going. So tonight, I'm going to pull the front fender off and take a stab at getting it painted. I painted the gas tank, and the paint checked. It went off with whatever the primer was. The primer had been out there for a couple of years, but the paint had a reaction to it. So we'll play with that. Not terribly uncommon on this kind of a project, and this is kind of the nature of the beast. That painting stuff, sometimes it goes really smooth and sometimes it doesn't. It's just the way it is. So let me make a little more progress, and I'll bring you back when I got something to show you. Harley Hummer 125, 1950 vintage, is ready to show you what it's going to look like as we get ready to put it in the other shop. The goal of this project was to make something out of the wrong parts I bought. So I could have sold all the parts and just got my money back, which probably would have been the smart thing to do. But instead, I took on the challenge of putting a motorcycle together out of all the parts. And I love a good challenge. So this is what the outcome is. It's been kind of a long project, multiple years. I got it to a certain point, and then sold a shop, bought a different house, did all this stuff, and now's the time to kind of get it into a position and a look that is kind of cool and it is worth seeing and makes you smile when you walk by it. So here it is. 1950. It still needs a couple things. I didn't have the brake cable and the clutch cable down here. It's at the other shop. So I'll bring it down and put those on. But this is what it looks like. It's got a little bit of stainless on the back of the rear fender, and it's got a luggage rack. This particular one does have a little toolbox down there, which is kind of cool. It has kind of neat looking 1950 details, are pretty slick looking. Up front fender was in much better shape. Didn't require grafting multiple fenders together, so that was nice. It's not perfect by any means for sure. You guys can see it's got little blemishes in it, which is fine. The front has a little bit of stainless. It's got new tires. It's got a really cool headlight, incredibly rare and hard to find. It's got a switch on the tank to turn it on because it is battery, and pretty cool grips. I thought those grips cool. It's a Harley Davidson on. The filler is actually the measuring cup for putting oil in it to mix the fuel. Quite cool, I thought. And not being a motorcycle guy, maybe every motorcycle company did that, but I thought it was pretty neat. The seat's been reupholstered. Brian Willingham did that a long time ago, and it just looks awesome. It's got a horn on the side. It is not, I don't think it is a Harley Davidson horn, mainly because I just couldn't justify the cost. So, because the horns are the same for the big bikes, and everything gets really expensive on the big bikes. So, that is kind of just, it has as many original parts or real Hummer parts on it as I could find. The motor's rebuilt, has good compression. The thing is just cool looking. So this is a wrap up on the little Hummer. I have a 61 as well that was actually the one that I started on. It has just a little bit of work to do, paint the front fender. So I might pull it out and do it too, so there might be a follow-up to this one. And we'll get them both at the other shop. I'm Clay for Chop Shop Motors, and we'll see you on the next project.